Yo, so guys, Sam here. It's been a hot minute, but I've got something really exciting to share with you guys. I never would have thought I would ever make this video, much less own this camera. But it's such an incredible feeling to actually work hard, save up the money to actually afford what you want. As you can tell from the video, it's the Leica M10. And so for this video, I want to do a quick unboxing. Well, I've already unboxed this camera a while. I've been shooting it for a couple of days already. Share my first impressions, but more so kind of like give some thought behind as to why I chose the Leica M10 versus some of the other potential options that are out there. Hopefully helping those that are in the same boat as me, trying to figure out if you want the Leica M10 versus some other options. But let's not waste any more time. Let's just jump straight into the unboxing and we'll come back to like the discussion. So okay, this is the unboxing. As probably most of you watching this video have already seen like a ton of Leica unboxings, so there's not going to be anything new, but this is really fresh from me. It comes in this really unassuming box, which is pretty ugly, but when you have... oh shit. Throw that away, and you have... Leica M10. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. So when you open a Leica box, you have the flap over here, and you open and it just falls apart just like that, and you have the box. Oh goodness. And here, it kind of opens up like this, just like that. As you can see, I'm gonna open it this way, so you open up. It has magnets, which is really cool to see. And you also have like these like drawers at the bottom. So I'm going to open it this way. This is obviously the meat of the actual box itself. I will leave this here for now. In this drawer, you have like the paper stuff, things that you don't really care. Something that I just really love is the fact that, you have this like certificate of authenticity, or like somebody checked it out, which is really cool to see. And inside here is just the boring stuff where you have your like cables, chargers. It's a really nice strap, but it's too long and I find it quite ugly. You got a charger. Fun fact, like when I bought this, it didn't come with a charger, so Leica Malaysia had to actually get me a new charger from somewhere. I have no idea where they took it from. Just basic cables, stuff like that. Car charger, apparently that's really important, and the battery. So let's just put this all away first. In the moment of truth, this is just amazing. You have just that, and of course the Leica M10. Jeez, what a beautiful camera. Amazing. All your buttons and things like that. So remove the base plate, and battery goes just right there, and a card. And of course you have like a card here. Oops, of course it'll go the wrong way. Base plate back on. There we go. And we're back. This is finally mine, the Leica M10. I chose it in black. I got it from the Leica store Malaysia. It was a really good deal, and they had like a 1-year warranty, which is for digital Leicas I feel like a little bit more necessary. But it's a beautiful camera. I mean, like the Leica has always been one of my, the cameras that I've always felt that were the most beautiful. I have my Leica oh my god, to own two Leicas, it's crazy. I've got my Leica M6 here, and my M10. Like, as you can see, they're just gorgeous cameras. It's amazing. And so now I want to talk a little bit about why I chose the Leica M10. A little bit of a backstory. As a professional photographer, this is my job, and when I make business purchases, it has to be rather intentional. So I own like the stuff like the 1D X Mark III and the R3, the C70 they're shooting me right now. These are no doubt very expensive cameras, but they help me earn money. So in the long run, in fact, like a couple of like 6 months or so, like the ROI is actually pretty decent. But when it's something like this, the Leica M10, a digital rangefinder that's I would argue very hard to make this camera a professional camera, or at least something that you can take on jobs, mainly because of the manual focusing, the lack of certain functions that kind of like help you be more efficient on set. So something like this is no longer a business purchase, something that you can justify. You don't justify buying a Leica, at least monetary, or at least like objectively. Buying a Leica is strictly, at least to me, a very personal and very subjective decision. This is a camera that I want to use for myself. I want to use this as personal project. Hopefully, try and turn this into a wedding camera. Perhaps I recently shot one wedding completely on two M6s. It was an amazing experience, and hopefully in the future I'll be able to transition my wedding photos to over to digital Leicas. I think that would be an amazing experience to have. But yeah, this is really just a purchase that I wanted to make for myself. I wanted something that I could carry around, that looked good, that produces, well, to be fair, like in terms of digital cameras, it's kind of hard to find a bad camera now. Anything above 2017 or 2016 even is going to give you fantastic results. So image quality wasn't really at the top of my list. I just wanted a camera that felt good in my hands, that I would want to carry everywhere. My R3 is a fantastic camera, while 1DX Mark III, which is to date still my favorite digital camera. It's big, it's bulky. I can't go around like, just going around daily live capturing. I could, but it's just cumbersome, and the shutter is pretty loud and things like that. It really looks quite intimidating at points. And this is just, it's just so sleek. The design language of Leica is incredible. And so that was one of the major reasons why I really wanted, and I'm also at a point where, I can afford something like this, a luxury even. Just the way, for those of you who have never shot Leica, the way the camera feels, just putting it up to your eye. Actually, let me just quickly put a lens on this. So this is currently one of my favorite lenses to use with it. This is the Japan Samilux, the Canon 50mm LTM 1.4. Really sharp lens, lovely lens. The only thing is the minimum focus distance is like 1 meter, which is insane, and it focuses really slow. Hopefully looking to get like a 35 Samilux as well as a 50 lux, but that's for the future. But the way this camera looks, it's just such a beautiful way of shooting. It's so intimate. It's like when you look through a rangefinder, it's just something that feels so natural to me. It's not for everyone, I will admit, but it's this very intimate process that I really enjoy. And I knew I wanted an optical viewfinder because I don't like EVS. I mean, occasionally it's efficient and easy for work, but for like work, for photos that I really want to make for myself, an optical viewfinder is just the best, and it's just beautiful to see. Yeah. So yeah, so I definitely wanted a personal camera, and I felt this was the right time to go into it. So now I want to talk about a couple of reasons why I chose the M10 versus like a couple of other options. And let's look at the first one, and that is the Leica Q2. Now the Leica Q2 was something that I considered for a while because I wanted to potentially use it for work. Went to the Leica store, I tried out the Q2. Whilst the grip is probably my biggest gripe, the autofocus is pretty decent. It's okay, it's not fantastic versus like the R3. But the one thing I really disliked about the Q2 was the fact that it still was an EVF based camera. It's just not something that I want. I love the optical viewfinder of it, so obviously the Q2 was out of question. I might pick it up in the future for other reasons, but for now, versus that, the M10 was the better option. Now the next one that I was really thinking about was the M11. Now the M11, I mean, with the 61 megapixel camera, a lot of things like, the much better battery life, the internal storage and things like that. I mean, I felt the camera. I tried it out in the Leica store as well, and it's an amazing camera, but it's very hard to find the difference between that and the M10. Besides, like, obviously going to be a better sensor, better low light and things like that. The biggest con of the M11 is honestly going to be the price. the price of the M11 in Malaysia is about 41 grand, 41,000. I'm not rolling in cash. I mean, this was something that I saved up for a long time. And just to throw like 41 grand onto like a personal camera is, I'm not financially there to actually do something like that. And I'm looking to pick up probably a 35 lux. And for me, it's like when I found like a second-hand 35 lux and as well as a second-hand M10. Oh yeah, by the way, this is used. I could buy a used M10 plus a used 35 for the same price as a body of an M11, which to me is insane already that I'm even considering like just a lens and a body cost that much. But you know, it versus the M11, as much as like I do like that camera, can't really justify that extra cash just for the M11. I might pick it up sometime if like finances are really good. You know, if like business is going really well. But versus this, the M11 is just way too pricey. Another thing, a lot of people are told, at least some friends that asked me is, why didn't you just get a Fuji? Now, this is a little bit of rant, and I feel like I probably a lot of people might hate me for this, but a Fuji is not a replacement for a Leica. So sure, Fuji has some rangefinder cameras like the Xpro 3 series, the Xpro series, the X100, but they're not true rangefinder cameras. Now, this is very hard to describe in words, but unless you've actually used a Leica in person and actually gone out with it and shoot, you will know that there is nothing that can come close to Leica, not even Fuji. You know, we're talking and people say like, oh, you know, Fuji has autofocus, really good JPEGs and things like that, blah, 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 blah. For me, once again, as I mentioned, image quality is not my main concern. You know, I'm not going to take this camera out. Yes, it can take professional photos. Let's be real. Like when I take some of the photos that I've seen from this camera are like rich deep blacks that I really like. It's hard to describe the Leica look, but really it's a punchy, very high contrast look that I really like. And yeah, you can get that on a Fuji as well. You could like mix recipes and things like that, but it will never beat the handling and the feel of a Leica in your hands. Like just the way that you are in tune with focusing on with a rangefinder, a real rangefinder. You will find that there is no experience that comes close to a Leica. So Fuji was never really in my peripheral because trying it out, it never gave me what I wanted when I was making photos on my own. You know, it's this very intimate look in a rangefinder that it almost feels like you're part of the scene. It's part of your eye. It comes very naturally. And that's why a Fuji or X100 or whatever Fujis that came out was not something that I even considered. Now another one is going to be the M Type 240. Now that was also another camera I was considering. It's significantly cheaper than this. But what I really liked is obviously going to be the silhouette of the M10. The silhouette of the M10 is very similar to my M6. The M240 was always, it felt very fat. It was fat. I mean, like, this is something that everybody knows. But like the M240 just didn't feel right. And also this had Wi-Fi, so I could transfer to my phone and just the better high ISO and things like that. This just felt like more a refined camera than the M240. And so that's why I didn't really pick those. And I feel like the what you get with the M10 really justifies the price of the versus the M240. But this does not the M11 does not justify its cost versus this. So I think those are the major concerns versus cameras that I was considering, and hopefully I might have helped some of you. I do want to talk a little bit about some of the pitfalls or like the cons of using this camera. Number one, the screen on the back of this is shit. Coming from the 1DX Mark III, like the screen on that is perfect. It really inspires you and really looks like you when you look at the back of the screen. Wow, I took that photo. That's really nice. But the back of the screen here, I always feels like out of focus. Like it's not really that sharp, and it doesn't really inspire anything. And that's why I most of the time leave it off, and I treat this like a film camera. I don't chimp that much when I'm shooting with this. Another thing was I found the metering on this camera to be a little bit wonky, particularly in backlit situations. But to be fair, backlit situations are quite difficult for a lot of digital cameras as well. But I found the metering on this to be like always a little bit more underexposed. But I think the highlight, the shadow recovery of this camera is pretty good. But yeah, the metering is a little bit slightly strange. Another thing of this is the battery life is frankly atrocious. Like I shot like maybe I don't know 100 photos and like a lot of standby, and like it was it lasted me a couple of days because I didn't shoot like nonstop with this, but like I'm just not used to the battery draining so fast. It's not terrible, but if you're looking for really good battery life, I think the M11 is going to be better. But the M10 is just like not really happy with it, especially when it comes to transferring over Wi-Fi. This is not the best camera to use in terms of battery life. But other than that, this is close to being the perfect digital camera. Oh, one more thing that I did want to talk about is that comparing the main reason why I really wanted the M10, and that is I wanted a something that was as close as I could to shooting with my M6. The problem is I love shooting film. I mean, film is going to be something that I love. I will always shoot. But now I mainly shoot on medium format because like it gives me the quality that I want. It forces me to slow down due to the rising cost of film. Like if I'm gonna shoot 2 rolls of portrait, 200 or 400 rolls of portrait, I can afford this camera already. And that's something that's really hard to swallow because I shoot a lot of film. I like 100-ish rolls already, and it's not even the end of the year. So financially speaking, as much as I love shooting film, it's hard to swallow because the rising cost of film. Every time I make a mistake on film, it's like I have to literally pay for it. But if I make a mistake on this, I can still learn, try again, and I don't really waste anything versus like if I were to shoot on my M6. So the thing is I just wanted something that I could replicate the closest to film, at least on my M6, without actually going crazy. I mean, okay lah, to be fair, this is crazy expensive already. But yeah, so the M10 was the closest thing that I could find to that rangefinder film-like feel. Even the JPEGs out of this really look like film, very close to film, at least to it from my eye. But it's the experience of shooting with it that feels like I'm shooting film, just with the benefits of digital. I still hate the fact that I sometimes have to edit the photos, but then again, I still edit. I have to edit my film scans sometimes because of the film lab. But yeah, the M10 was really a replacement for my film camera because I just can't shoot 35mm anymore. It's getting so pricey that it's just insane. So yeah, I just want to talk finally about the appeal or the so-called lust of the Leica. And really I ultimately it's every camera is a tool. It's a tool that we need to understand as photographers and how it best fits our shooting style. And that's why I've got so many different kinds of cameras. Each one of these cameras kind of provides something new and fresh that the other can't. And this is no different. This is a tool for my personal use because it fits the size, the style, the feeling that I like to shoot with my personal work, just documenting my everyday life. This is not something that I will use for like a wedding shoot because at least for now, because my style when I'm shooting is like I'm very upfront. I like the camera to be the last thing that I think about. I just want when I aim the camera, it's going to expose properly for me. It's going to get focus for me, and that's all I need because I love interacting with the people. The way I talk, it's like, it's if you see me shoot, it's like it's very up close, very personal. But on this, you have to be a bit more intentional. And people like to say that, oh, the camera gets out of your way. For me, not so much because you have to think about lining up that rangefinder patch in the middle. And so this is not a camera that gets out of my way. This is a camera that forces me to think. and that's what I want in like my personal camera or work, that like, you know, it forces me to slow down, really compose, think about my shots. Obviously if I'm shooting with a 28mm for street photography, I don't really think that much, I just snap. But this really forces me to slow down in terms of my process, and it just fits the size very easy, and it also has that design aesthetic that fits, at least I think it fits how I look. But yeah, the Leica lust is real, and I feel like it's warranted, because once you get bitten and once you understand the philosophy and why you buy a Leica, why you choose a Leica, I think you would really understand just the feeling and the whole being one with the camera and being one, the rangefinder, the opticals, viewfinder is just an amazing experience. And really that's what we all search for as artists. It's, of course, the results, the final results are what's are more important, and the final results of the image, but getting to that image is just as important. The process is just as important. The journey of the image is just as important, and we tend to forget that sometimes it's, the best photos can have the worst of stories, but sometimes the most mundane of photos can carry the most meaning, because of how you experienced it when you took it. You brought up the camera, you lined up your focus, and you shoot it. It's the experience of actually getting that capturing that moment that is also very, very important to me. So yeah, once again, it's just freaking crazy that I actually can call this camera my own. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of sleepless nights, but I'm very happy with it. I carry it around me everywhere I go, and I think it's not going to leave my side for a very, very long time. At least maybe till the M11 or something like that. So thank you guys very much for watching. It was a pretty long video, but I hope you got something out of this. Hope it helped kind of like come up with your own decision, how to find your own favorite camera, and how to find the camera that's right for you. If you have any questions, don't forget to drop them down in the comments below. I try to answer as much as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.